I'm Justin Boyd.
And I was on mute, Tristan Jones.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today. And also, welcome to Watchers Football Weekly, a podcast within a podcast, and a podcast that's all about the pigskin. Today, we are here to discuss week 9 of the NFL season. And since it's week 9, we're now smack dab in the middle of the NFL year. So let's talk about obviously Frank's going to join us here in a little while. So we'll save the Chiefs talk for when he joins us. But let's talk about the NFC. The Lions are 7-1 after their win over the Packers on Sunday at Lambeau. It's their third straight win at Lambeau. They used to never win there. Now they win there quite often. What are your thoughts on the Lions? Do you think they're the best team in the NFC? I mean, record wise they are, but what'd you see from them in that game? And are they the best team in the conference?
The Lions are. They confirm what they were kind of building towards. They are the best team in the NFC. I think they are the biggest challenge to the Chiefs overall, NFL wise.
Right.
I think the Lions, man, they just do everything. Well, not everything, but they do most things really well. Things that you really need to win, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They base their game off the running game. They have a really solid, between the tackles runner, and get you, 4 to 5 to 6 yards, and David Montgomery, but also have like Jamar Gibbs who can break open a 15 to 20 yard big run at any moment. Jared Goff, when he has time to like process the field, is as accurate as you get in the NFL. They had great offensive play calling and Ben Johnson, who's going to be in high demand after this year. On the defensive side, like they get good pressure. Not a great secondary. The defense is okay, but the offense is good enough to make up, I think, in most games, any defensive, deficiencies. So, yeah, man, they look like the best team. At times, they look like the best team, in the league. If you just kind of looking narrowly at them in a particular game, like on Sunday, they look like the best. Obviously, they look a tier above the Packers,
right?
Just in like things you can depend on a possession to possession basis. They look really good, man. Coaching, they well coached. Like their team, and they just made a trade today for Zadarius Smith from the Browns on the edge, the D line. So they look like they're primed to make a run, man. It should be fun to see.
Yeah, and like you said, the ability to run the ball, and that's pretty much what they did on Sunday. I mean, it was one of those like wet, kind of cold, rainy games at Lambeau. Not a lot of passing, but they were able to run the ball just enough to get the win. And their defense was excellent against Jordan Love. He threw what was kind of a backbreaker, a pick six, like at the end of the first half that really kind of blew the game open. Not that it was a high scoring game or anything, but the Lions are looking solid. And at 7-1, they're the NFC's best team. And like you said, I think they have the best chance to be in the Super Bowl. And I'm not even sure who the second best team in the NFC is, honestly. And I guess I'll throw that to you. Who do you think is the second best team? Is it someone in their division? I don't think it's the Packers. Is it the Falcons? Like, who is it?
It's not the Packers. It's not the Falcons. Gun to my head, I'll still say Minnesota.
Okay.
With the 49ers having the highest ceiling outside of Detroit. So, yeah, we're just going by, like, all things being equal, the team I think can get to the Super Bowl, and it's Detroit, San Francisco, and then Minnesota. I think at present time, it would be Detroit, Minnesota.
Yeah, and San Fran supposedly going to get Christian McCaffrey, or potentially he's going to get Christian McCaffrey back this week. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on Sunday. I did mention the Falcons a little bit ago. Let's go to that game. The Falcons got the win over the Cowboys 27-21. The Falcons offense seems like they're kind of, Cousins kind of getting a handle on the team. And, really the game wasn't as close as the score, but I really want to focus on the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they're now 3-5. Dak Prescott left the game with a hamstring injury. He's likely headed to the IR, according to Jerry Jones. Is the Cowboys season pretty much over? I mean, not that we had high hopes for it, but you think it's in end of days for the Cowboys?
Every week I kick myself for not picking them to miss the playoffs. Like in our preview pod, every week, like that was a fumble. Just
Yeah.
In my head, like you could look at this team from before, from leading in from last year to this year to over the summer.
Mhm.
It's a failure to make the proper improvements to like the many areas of need on their football team. They're a top heavy team led by a quarterback who's good, who can be really good, but you can't depend on when you're down and you need to come back, and you know what you're going to get from him in the playoffs. Um, a coach who's mid tier at best. No offensive creativity. Like there's just no reason to believe the Cowboys were going to be good.
Yeah.
For the fact that they feast on non-playoff teams. They will beat up on the Giants forever, no matter what they look like.
Right.
With that said, yeah, the season's done. It was done, I think, before Sunday's game. And you just kind of kidding yourself if you just feel like, okay, if you look at their schedule after the Falcons game, and really including the Falcons game,
Yeah.
and it's murderous road just outside of the Giants, teams that you would not favor the Cowboys to win it. So this season is over, man. I think I have a theory that I think this is what Jerry kind of envisioned. I think Jerry even looked at this team in the summer and was like, it's not worth, going borrowing against our future cap even more to improve this team, which probably already has a low ceiling. And I think he kind of anticipated this team being average at best and, just kind of getting into the playoffs and then, your regular disappointment.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is looking like season from hell. So
Yeah.
every team goes through that at some point, especially a team as ill prepared to like succeed this year as the Cowboys. So yeah, it's over for them.
Yeah. You mentioned the Cowboys and Giants, and there's certain things about when the NFL schedule comes out. I always check out, what are the Thanksgiving Day games? Just like when the NBA schedule comes out, I always say, okay, who's playing on Christmas? Well, Thanksgiving. I just want to warn everyone out there: the Cowboys are hosting the Giants in that 3:30 game. So, if you're in a warm weather place on that day, go outside, throw the football around, or if if it's cold outside, maybe play some Madden or NCAA football or something. Like, don't watch this game. This game is going
That's
to be brutal. I'm
that's
I'm
prime
telling you.
nap hours.
Yeah, there you go.
That is
Yeah,
prime nap hours. Like right after that first
yeah,
plate.
yeah, yeah. Well, the first game that day is going to be Bears at Lions, which in the past not a great matchup. This year it could be fun, although the Bears are going in the wrong direction. Let's talk about them. They've lost 2 straight, following or, at coming, they lost to the Commanders last week on the Hail Mary or the Failberry, depending on what you want to call it. This week they lost again. And what I thought was one of the more surprising games of the weekend, one of the most surprising results. Cardinals won 29-9. Any thoughts on this game? I didn't see this game coming. Of course, the Cardinals are the NFC West leaders at 5-4, but kind of a shocking result.
I mean, a lot of people speculated over the week that, whether this would be a kind of a hangover game
Yeah.
for the Bears after that, the Fail Mary. And that's what it was. Like they came out flat. They came out. It looked like essentially that they quit on their head coach. And I think DJ Moore's comments after the game, kind of, he was literally asked, like, has his team quit? And he was just like, man, I can't really say no. Comma, but
That's tough. Yeah.
that's real tough, man. Week 9. But I watched NFL Live today, and Dan Orlovsky talked about like how just like their passing game concepts don't make sense.
Yeah.
Like they, ran a play where they essentially had all 4 of their receivers, the pack has pass catching receivers in the same, like within 6 yards of each other, and pretty much every sport works off spacing, and that's some of the worst spacing I've seen. And it's like there's just multiple plays like that where like who's the ball going to, Caleb's dropping back 3 yards, 4 yards back, 3 steps, and like he's ready to throw. Nobody's even looking at the ball. It's like little things like that, like everything's kind of going wrong with them. And it looked like they were on an upward trajectory around, week 4, 5, 6. but they've come right back down to earth. And when that happens, you kind of look big picture and say, okay, we have a defensive-minded head coach who has no clue what he's doing offensively. The offensive coordinator it looks like he does, from the first 3 weeks, it looked like the offensive coordinator had no idea what he was doing, and kind of right back to that. The issue is that the defense is getting work, now. And that was supposed to be their calling card. That, the defense would be good, the running game would be good, and this would, help bring Caleb along slowly so that he didn't have to worry about making so many plays.
Yeah.
And everything looks bad right now. Caleb looked bad the last 2 weeks. He had a great fourth quarter against, Washington, but he was just bad. But I think his bad is more so a function of everything else being bad. And then plus just a normal rookie, some things he has to get worked out of him. Like, hey, he missed a smash route for 5 yards to Keenan Allen because he went for the corner route, to DJ Moore 10 yards down. Just failing to, make the proper read and say, okay, I'm going to take this 5 yards instead of like risking, a turnover, trying to go 15, 20 yards. Those things just have to be coached out of him. I'm losing confidence that the correct coaching staff is there to get those things out of him. So, and then, on the Cardinals side, this is what I say about Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Like, you can't depend on them to be good or bad on a week-to-week basis. Kind of the definition of a 500 team. And Kyler Murray is the definition of a 500 essentially quarterback. So I won't say that I saw it coming because I can't tell what I'm getting from the Cardinals, but I definitely saw like a Bears meltdown possibly happening after that failed Mary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Bears, they're 4-4. They're last in the NFC North. Still, that's the only division that doesn't have a team with a losing record. But I think the Bears might be challenging that very soon. As far as the NFC West, like I said, the Cardinals are leading at 5-4. You had two other teams battling out in that division. We had the Rams and the Seahawks on Sunday. That went to overtime. That was the last game to end on Sunday. Did you watch much of that one? What did you take away from that one? The Rams got the win in overtime, 26-20. Now they're right back in it. They're 4-4. San Francisco's is 4-4, and now Seattle has dropped to 4-5. They're last currently. Who do you see coming out of that division? What'd you think about the Rams Seahawks game?
Man, I don't fucking know about the division. Like, there's moments where like Seattle looks like the clear best team in that division, and Geno Smith at times has looked like the best quarterback in that division. I think overall it's obviously Matt Stafford, who I've come like all the way around on. Like, I was very down on Matt Stafford in Detroit, and now I think he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. But I think the Rams will come out of that. They're starting to get healthy. And it's not like they're great really on either side of the ball. They don't have a ton of talent on both sides of the ball, but they have enough. And I think Stafford's good enough. I think he's good enough to get a decent receiving core and a good running game to the playoffs. It's not like he has the most stiffest competition in that division. These teams just continuously shoot themselves in the foot, like from top to bottom. But I'm taking the Rams right now with the kind of caveat that I think on offensively, I think Seattle possibly has the highest ceiling. San Francisco, you can make a great case for San Francisco, but I think we've seen the best of what San Francisco can look like. And I just don't think it can get better than that. But Geno at a point was playing like at an MVP level over a course of some weeks. It's just getting that to happen consistently. I just haven't seen it. So I'm going to go with the best quarterback, and really maybe the best coach, McVay and Stafford. And I'll just kind of ride that out. But literally from the top to bottom of that division, it's a 500 division.
It's a total coin flip division. I mean, like with San Francisco down this year, it's totally up for grabs. The Rams were looking to trade, or Cooper Kupp was out there for a couple weeks. Publicly out there, which is I thought kind of strange. They ended up keeping him. The trade deadline was today. It passed at 3 o'clock our time. Were you surprised that he didn't move, or um, do you think that's the right move to keep him? I mean, he's a very good player when he's not injured. The problem is he gets hurt a lot.
I wasn't surprised. The reports I read, a few weeks ago before the DeAndre Hopkins trade were that the Rams were looking for like a second for him, and again, really good when he's playing, but not doesn't play enough to warrant the second, especially from a team like the Chiefs, who would just regenerate another receiver from out of nowhere and get 3 catches for 39 yards, but the most important 3 catches of the game, I guess.
Yeah,
So I wasn't surprised. And then again, if you're the Rams and you are locked in on just really just making the playoffs this year, which I think they can do, then you just kind of need what you can get.
yeah,
That team is kind of talent starved on both sides of the ball. Like I said, they're not loaded anywhere. So like you take who you have, and again, if you can get Cooper Cup healthy for like the last third of the season, then hey, you kind of ride this out. I think they can win with what they have. So wasn't surprised at all.
yeah. So there were a couple players that were traded on the deadline today, and probably the biggest move was the Commanders traded for Saints corner Marshawn Lattimore. I know there was, I know Frank was telling me in the office that he's really hoping for the Lattimore to the Chiefs deal to go through. Obviously, that didn't happen. What do you think that does for the Commanders, who are 7-2? They're just ahead of the Eagles in the East. It appears like it's a two horse race in that division. How does Lattimore help the Commanders? And do you see this as like, or do you think the Commanders are legit like playoff team?
I think they are a legit playoff team.
Yeah,
I have them as slight favorites in that division over Philly. What it does really is psychologically, it shows that there's a elevated belief in Jaden Daniels
yeah,
and their ability to win big, to make a run with him, if not this year, next year. But like they absolutely think that he can at least get them over the hump, at least get into the playoffs and like threatening to make a run this year.
mhm,
And we look at again who the teams who are winning these Super Bowls or at least making it to the Super Bowl, and for the most part, is teams with quarterbacks on rookie contracts. So if you have a quarterback and you feel like they are good enough that you can like legitimately build, and this is a build around Jaden Daniels move,
oh yeah,
then you go for it. You know, you got Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know if he's a free agent after this year. I don't know what his contract looks like, but if you got him, past this year, like you say, hey, okay, we start showing up the defense a little bit more. Let's try to make a run. And the offensive line is already good. You have, McLaurin, you got a decent receiving core overall. Like we start showing up the defense, and the defense have been playing better over the course of the season anyway. This is a move to say, hey, we're if not all in, we're about 70 to 85% all in on trying to make a run this year, and definitely within the next 2 to 3 years. So
mhm,
for me, it shows a belief in Jay Daniels and his ability to play at a high enough level throughout the rest of the season and in the playoffs, and threaten Detroit, threaten San Francisco,
yeah.
threaten Minnesota, try to make a run at it. So I'm all for it.
Jaden Daniels, he plays so well that I have to remind myself that he's a rookie. Like it feels
Yeah,
like he's just so like smooth. Like it's so like I don't know. He's always like in control. And this team is. It appears that the Commanders are this year's tech, or last year's Texans. This year's Texans, I guess you could say,
right.
because they had the number 2 pick in the draft. They took him, took Daniels. I mean, I mean, now at this point, it'd be hard for them to kind of miss the playoffs with the NFC is a little bit down, and they are they're continuing to ascend. So
I mean, don't
pretty
don't underestimate like him being that talented and having that many reps in
yeah,
college.
exactly.
And having that many
Yeah.
starts, and yeah, a lot of rookies come in and they look comfortable in the pocket, but they don't have the same talent. A lot of rookies come in and have the talent, but they don't look as comfortable in the pocket. So
Yeah.
rarely we get both in one guy. So he's super, super duper talented. He's getting better. Even if the numbers aren't always like as gaudy as they were in certain weeks this year, he just looks comfortable. He looks like he knows where the football should go. He makes good decisions. Now, where he needs to grow is understanding some 8-second plays or some 12-second plays are meant to be like 5-second plays. It's meant, hey, I'll check this read. I'm heading towards the sideline. I should throw the ball away and just kind of move on. But like I want to hold it, and then you get your ass blasted.
Yeah.
You already have bad ribs. Like I see too many of those in a game from him and Caleb. Where you just like throw it away, pop. You know, it's like that. You could have did that 7 seconds ago and saved yourself a hit. So he'll continue to learn that every hit counts. You know, towards the career registry. You want to minimize those as much as possible.
Right. You have only got so many hits in your body that you can take.
Right.
Yeah, definitely want to avoid those kill shots. Stick it in the NFC East. Um, I don't really want to talk about the game as much. The Eagles got the winner of the Jaguars. What do you think about the Saquon Barkley backward hurdle in traffic play? Which is like, if you told somebody, you'd be like, "No, you're making that up. That sounds like the Matrix or something, or some like Marvel movie." But like he did that in real life, and every time I see it, I'm just like, how did he know? How first of all, the ability to do that's incredible. But to know, like, in space, like, I mean, you're in traffic after spinning off one guy. What an unbelievable play.
It's one of the most exciting athletic feats I've seen in
Yeah.
sports. Like,
Right.
you know, like it wasn't like we won't talk about the full play because it was what, a 12-yard gain or something. But
Yeah.
just as an athletic feat, like having a vision, like first of all, spin move
Yeah.
beforehand was sick. And then in the course of like just you're using that peripheral vision to see something and anticipate and then jump at the perfect time, like that's, I don't even know like where that comes from. Like a bunch of dudes play football forever and they don't have that type of like intuition on the
Yeah.
fly. It was just amazing. Like it's one of those things where you just kind of sit up like, whoa. So we had like 4 games going on a multi-view and like you saw the replay on like 3 of them. Like it was just that big of a deal. So
Yeah.
that was amazing play. You know, when we look back at this season as a whole, we'll look at this as like a reemergence of Saquon Barkley as a major force, and that play is absolutely going to be on the highlight reel, not just for like Saquon or the Eagles, but for the entire league this year. So,
Oh yeah.
10 out of 10 play.
Yeah. No doubt about that. Incredible play. And he's part of Saquon and Jalen Hurts have got that team going in the right direction. So um interesting to see how the NFC East plays out, which is it's rare to have 2 good teams in the NFC East. Usually you have one that's like okay or to pretty good, and then the rest of them are pretty bad, but at least we have a kind of a two horse race in that division. So be fun to watch how that plays out. Um let's talk about the Panthers Saints game. Now, normally you wouldn't want to discuss this game. This is not but the Panthers got their second win of the year. They're 2-7. The Saints, however, dropped to 2-7 because he lost 7 straight. It cost Dennis Allen his job. Head coach was fired. Um, Bryce Young actually played pretty well, got the win. What are your thoughts on this one?
So I have like this tier system for like how much I should care about a team or player. Because I was talking with somebody about like the Texans.
Yeah.
And this was when I was like a team free agent. Like I was just, looking for a team to root for, like just really to dive in on. And I obviously the Texans are my hometown team. They've been here since I was a senior in high school. I've never been able to like fully connect or care about them like everybody else has. But my first thing was like, hey, first thing you need to be is watchable.
Right.
I need to be able to turn on and say, okay, the Texans are playing, Carolina Panthers are playing. I need to be able to say, okay, I can watch this and expect to see solid football play, like or semi-exciting. And large part of that is having a quarterback who has, potential to like make things happen every possession.
Yeah.
Look like they belong out there. What I see from Bryce Young over the last 2 weeks is that he looks like he belongs on the NFL field. That doesn't mean he's good right now. Like, again, that's the next step is like consistent decent, solid play. So I wouldn't say he's good right now, but I feel better about the Bryce Young experiment going forward than I did before he got benched. Before he got benched, he looked like somebody threw a JV player out there and
Right.
said, "Hey, go play quarterback." Like he had no confidence in himself. He had no confidence in the line. He had no confidence in the playmakers. I guess sitting down, watching Andy Dalton do it, getting more reps in practice, he looks like he knows at least where the ball should go.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he's going to make the perfect decision or he's going to make the perfect throw, but he knows where the ball should go. He's going through his progressions. He looks more comfortable in the pocket. So he's just on the next step. Like, okay, watchable. Okay, let's continue to do this. So
Yeah.
I feel way better about him. And what a world of difference what a month makes. But much
Exactly.
better about Bryce Young than I did before.
I wonder maybe being benched and kind of having everyone kind of give up on him, maybe that took a lot of pressure off him. Now he can just kind of like go out there and like, he has nothing to lose. And so sometimes when you have nothing to lose, you don't lose. You play better, So like maybe that's part of it. Um, I thought it was interesting that I saw today several, according to some sources, several teams were inquiring about trading for him today. I never saw a team named directly, but that would have been an incredible move if after, one of his better games of his career if Carolina dealt him today, but, they're gonna hang on to him, which I think is the right move.
I do too. And not like we can really trust the Carolina Panthers to make great draft decisions. So
Fair.
um, you can't give up on number one pick quarterback within a year of his career. You just can't do it,
Yeah.
especially like you said after one of his best games. He had a pick on the sideline that, I mean, on the scale of like it's not your fault interceptions, it has to be like on a 99th percentile. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was really his one big mistake. That wasn't really his mistake. Outside of he played a clean game. Outside of that, and took some sacks here and there. Like that's kind of to be expected. But I think he's getting better. And for now, we just kind of sit back and let him develop and let him just get better.
Yeah. From the Saints side, and this
Phew.
is the second matchup this year between the 2 teams. The first time was week 1. They blew out the Panthers. Week 2, the Saints went to Dallas, blew out the Cowboys, and since then they've lost 7 straight, and Derek Carr was back this week. Chris Olave is now out. I'm not just necessarily blaming Derek Carr, but yeah, things are you talk about season from hell kind of stuff. The Cowboys are having. I think the Saints would probably sign up for that too.
Yeah, it's time for the Saints to blow this thing up.
Yeah,
They have one of the worst cap situations. I don't understand much about the salary cap in the NFL. I do know a horrible salary cap when I see it. Like they you saw with the Lattimore trade, like they should have been even more sellers.
yeah,
I saw some rumors about them trading Chase Young. Um, like I'm selling for parts. I'm
yeah,
getting rid of any overpriced veteran, and I'm going young. Until we get this cap thing fixed. And Derek Carr again gets Dennis Allen fired. Like this is this has to be like Dennis Allen hates to see Derek Carr coming, boy. But yeah, man, like it's crazy. The Saints players they were apologizing on Twitter for losing for losing to the Panthers, which caused like some little back and forth. But it's time for the Saints to blow this thing up. They should have been like major sellers at the deadline. Um, there's really no hope there. Like I say that I'm not. It doesn't feel hyperbolic. Like I just don't see a
yeah.
way. Like they're definitely not going to be competitive this year, and they don't really have the means to improve the team. So Kamara,
Yeah.
get ready to learn Brett Veach, or whatever. Like get ready to get ready to learn Houston Texan or something. I don't know, but that team as is, it has to be blown up, and that game was just kind of further proof of that.
Yeah. And I'm not blaming Taysom Hill for this, but do you think the Taysom Hill thing should kind of end? Like the way, like, I just think that's kind of a weird thing to have. I mean, obviously he has a place because he can also play receiver and he's more of a running back than he's a quarterback. But I don't know that
Taysom
gimmick is
Hill
kind of is over. Like
Taysom Hill is a luxury in like 2011.
Yeah.
Like when the Wildcat was
Right.
popping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's like a foregone like thing. Like we don't need Taysom Hills anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like we
Yeah.
have different things that can replace a Taysom Hill. So I think again, not a salary cap expert, but like I feel like that Taysom Hill contract was like the first domino in like the complete downfall and destruction of the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Like you're paying that money to somebody who's not your full-time quarterback. Didn't make sense in the moment, but like Sean Payton at that point hadn't made a great decision in years.
Yeah.
He's kind of still living off '09. Yeah, we don't need a Taysom Hill. Like also we don't need a Derek Carr. Like I was surprised he got that job back once he got healthy. But I would have, again, a smart team is forward thinking. Ride the Spencer Rattler train for the rest of the year and start selling for parts and cleaning that cap sheet.
Yeah. I just wonder, like, when are they gonna get their next win? 7 in a row is tough. For a team that started out 2-0, everyone was talking about the offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, about how he might be the hot guy to get a job. Like, he might get a job before Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowak next year or whatever. And now it's like no one's mentioning that guy's name. And yeah, lot of L's in NOLA right now. Um, let's move over to the AFC. Let's talk about the Texans. The Texans kicked off the week Thursday Night Football on Amazon with a loss on Halloween night to the Jets. Um, Tristan, I don't know about you, but this was to me. I thought this is a big blow for the Texans. Like this is a game they really needed to kind of win. I really wonder, like, can this team win on the road in big spots? And I'm not saying the Jets are not a good team, but like, it's a primetime game. Granted, it's Thursday. Um, Given what's happened to them in the playoffs, obviously just last year, but even previous teams in the past, like this team like just doesn't inspire confidence. Their offense is getting worse. Besides Joe Mixon, everything else. I mean, Mixon's working well, but the passing game is looking pretty rough.
I mean, it's the biggest weakness for them is probably like one of those weaknesses that can be a death knell is like their interior offensive line. Like they getting CJ Stroud is getting so much pressure,
Yeah,
like right in his face. Um, and again, this was without Nico Collins, without Stephon Diggs. So when he is able to finally escape out of the pocket, like you just don't have those guys on the outside who can make one-on-one plays. So he's throwing in the tighter windows. Like you said, the offense is getting worse outside of occasional Joe Mixon big play. I just don't see how they can keep him upright.
yeah,
You're not able to like trade for like really good offensive linemen at a trade deadline, so they didn't really have the means to improve this biggest weakness. So yeah, man, they already had offensive line issues on the outside. The tackles is continuously getting false start penalties. Now, if the inside is not good, then you have to change your whole offensive style up. More bunch formations. You know what I'm saying? Like which
yeah,
kind of decreases the potential for big explosive plays. They got to figure something out. Because we talk about it's looking like a sophomore slump for CJ Stroud, and we know he's better than what the numbers are.
right.
He's better than what his situation is. But again, this is why we don't overly crown, teams after like that initial playoff run. Like you got to come back and do it again, and like so many of
Yeah,
your flaws are exposed that next year. A lot of the things that you got away with as a rookie, you can't. Like now the book is out. Like, hey, we can disguise more coverages. We can put more pressure on the outside, and like there's only but so much that CJ Stroud, with all his talents and field IQ and field awareness and pocket awareness, can do. He can't do anything right now.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just don't see them. Like I think they're still going to probably win this division, but I mean, do you think that they go to Buffalo and win a playoff game? Do you think they go to Baltimore to win a playoff game? Do you think they go to Kansas City and win a playoff game? I think the answer is no at all three.
I mean, I didn't think the answer was yes coming into the season. I still think there's just more steps they need to take.
Yeah.
I was skeptical about the run game. Coincidentally, the run game is the one thing that you would be confident in.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, like, will Tank Dell take a step up? I don't remember Tank Dell is coming back from a broken leg. Like, that's just going to. He hasn't been good
Yeah,
this
and
year.
didn't he get shot in the offseason? Like, it
Yeah,
wasn't like I don't think it was like it wasn't like a Ricky, what's his name? The guy for the 49ers, the rookie who got shot in the chest. Yeah, it wasn't that level, but still, he got shot.
yeah. Like, I'm always skeptical of, like, progression isn't always or almost never linear in the NFL. Like, you don't always go from losing in the divisional
Yeah,
round and then okay now, or the wild card round, now we're making the divisional, now we. That's not how it always works.
right.
Rarely is how it works. So I wanted to see more on the defensive side, especially in the secondary, and with it, that offense continue to grow, and offense has declined. But I think it's mostly offensive line play. But if your offensive line is broken, then your offense is broken. So we know that. So until that's fixed, they're gonna, like, continue to kind of squeak by, beat more bad teams who can't get pressure. But any good team is gonna eat them alive.
Yeah, especially on the road. They just I just don't believe they can do it. We shall see though. Talking about another AFC team, the Ravens rolled over the Broncos 41-10. Another great game by Lamar Jackson, another great game by Derrick Henry. Tristan, right now, if you had to give one of those players the offensive player of the year or the MVP, usually quarterback wins MVP. So
Mm.
let's say offensive player of the year. Do you give it to Lamar or Derrick Henry?
I'm giving offensive player of the year to Derrick Henry. Um, Already over 1,000 yards.
I mean, he's a
On
monster.
pace for
Yeah.
about 2,000.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
he's been spectacular. Um, Out of the backfield, catching the ball out of the backfield, explosive runs, finishing runs at the end of drives, sealing games off. He's been great. Lamar Jackson will be the MVP, or at least he'd be in my. I have him, Jared Goff, and I have Mahomes. We talk about it.
Yeah, we will.
The Chiefs part, but I still have Mahomes in there. But I just think his value is not being seen. I think there's a lot of box score watching with Mahomes, but
Yeah.
Lamar, I think, is playing out of his mind statistically. For him, it's just, again, what the better he plays throughout each week. As we get closer to the playoffs, like, I think it's only going to continue to put more pressure on him. It's like, all right, man, 2 MVPs. If he wins this year, it'll be back to back, including one unanimous.
Yeah.
This has to come with a trip to the Super Bowl or a win in the Super Bowl. So they would definitely be my MVP and my OPOY for right now. I still think there's time for late push. I think Joe Burrow can get in there as well.
Yeah.
If Cincinnati goes on a streak and at least gets to second place in that division. Those are my two right now.
Yeah. Good call on Burrow too. He had a 5 TD game on Sunday. The Bengals are now at 4-5. And speaking of the Bengals and the Ravens, they open week 10 on prime Thursday night football. So that should be an interesting Thursday night game. What did you see how the Bengals, besides obviously Burrow had a great game, but is that kind of the recipe for them to win? They're just going to have to rely on him throwing the ball.
Really, that's it.
Yeah.
Just as efficient on offense as possible. Like, he's spreading the ball around. He's getting to his playmakers,
Yeah.
I want to see how much, how long T. Higgins is out, what effect that's going to have. But they've been able to move the ball, man. The thing I like most about Joe Burrow is he understands, like, hey, taking that 5-yard pass, like consistent 5-6 yard passes here and there, just get the first down. Those big plays will come the more you soften the defense up. It's kind of what Mahomes is kind of morphed into, like a just a much more talented version of it. It's like, okay, I'll take this 5 yards. I'll take this 3 yards because it might lead to 6 here, and then I'm confident I can pick this first down up on third down. But Burrow has been great and just kind of spreading the ball around, diversifying the way that they pick up these first downs, and of course hitting the big play with Chase every once in a while. Offense is humming. I think the defense is slowly kind of improving. But for me, especially as a Chiefs fan, the team in the AFC I continue to be most worried about is the Bengals. Yeah. Just because there's less variance on their consistency, where I think Baltimore more so relies on big plays that aren't always there late in the season, especially in the playoffs. So, man, the offense looks great. The defense still leaves much to be desired, but their offense looks great right now.
Yeah. What about the Bills as far as the challenger of the Chiefs? They got the 30-27 win over the Dolphins. Dolphins with Tua back, obviously the offense looks much better. But like I said, the Bills pulled it out with a late field goal. What do you see from the Bills? Do you think that, obviously Josh Allen's playing very well this year, not turning the ball over.
Yeah. I have the Bills over the Ravens as far as teams that I'll be worried about. Because of Josh Allen, like just his ability to extend plays. It's something that as a Chiefs fan, like you fear. I've never really feared the Bills as a whole, but just Josh Allen by himself, just man, like you think you got him, and then he turns a negative 3-yard play into a 10-yard game and first down, and it's demoralizing. And then if the play is open, he's going to make the play with his arms. He's not always consistent with it against really good to great defenses, but more often than not, he's going to make the play with his arms. So Josh Allen, who I have probably he's in my top 5 of MVP voting so far. He makes the Bills like the second most, the second team that I worry about the most, as a Chiefs fan.
Speaking of Chiefs, Frank has joined us. Frank's on here right in time to talk about the Monday night game, a 30-24 win by the Chiefs over the Bucs. The Chiefs are the only undefeated team, 8-0. They keep finding ways to win. Frank, what are your thoughts on the Monday night win?
I think Monday night was a coronation of the rest of the NFL to get ready. You had your chance to get your licks in the first 6 weeks of the season with the injuries and like the inconsistent play, the inability to make plays in the red zone. This was an insight and coordination. Barring injury, man, to 15, I don't see how they don't go back to the Super Bowl. They were, I think, at one point in that game, Pat was 12 for 12 on third down.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots like 14 of 19 from third down. Like DeAndre Hopkins changes everything for that offense now. And if you notice, he opens the field now, the intermediate passing game for Kelsey. You can't double anybody now. And this is without Juju, this is without Hollywood and Pacheco. Once those chess pieces come back, you can cancel fucking Christmas, man.
Cancel
the rest of the league. Like there's so many, and right now it's just it's boring, it's productive, it's very chug it along. Like I think our running back had 3.7 yards per carry on 27 carries. But what that did was it just dominated the clock. It wore down that defense. Once it started raining in that second half, the defense was tired. Like even that overtime, they were just getting blown off the ball, and they didn't have a chance by overtime. They were so tired. And I think when Andy Reid, and we talked about this the last 6 weeks of this podcast, Andy Reid's going to transform this offense to what it needs to be. And the 2018, the high flying of the score 6 plays and 96 yards in 3 minutes. Now it's 17 plays in 8.5 minutes. And it's demoralizing football for the defense, and it's beautiful to watch. And this is a week and a half of DeAndre Hopkins not knowing the offense. And he had 8 for 80 and 2 touchdowns. Think about that. He's been in the building for 9 days, and he's already has this kind of rapport with Pat Mahomes, bruh. it makes everybody better. It makes Kelsey better. It's gonna make Worthy better. I mean, I can't believe he's still out of bounds, but he had a chance to make a play in the end zone. But the fact that they're giving him reps, Worthy reps this late in the season, and look, this is game 8 for Worthy. In college version, this is like he's getting ready for the CFP playoffs. Like the rookie wall is going to happen. I get it, but the fact that he's still getting opportunities shows you, and he'll get more with DeAndre Hopkins in that offense, and I can't wait. I mean, Pacheco was running hills a couple days ago. He's slated for a late November run. This is gonna be beautiful, man. I love what I saw. The defense played well too. Like, I mean, they played well. Like, if our defense gives us 24 points, I still expect to win. And that was considered like a bad day for the defense. We're good. We're good in KC right now.
Man, DeAndre Hopkins has been there for like 17 hours, and he damn near was in tears after that game playing with Patrick Mahomes. It's like, bro, I haven't played with a great quarterback since before the pandemic. Like, that's wild. He's out here making Brady and Moss comparisons, man. What that game last night showed me was that the Chiefs are the most adaptable team I've seen since the Patriots in their dynasty. Like you said, this is the first game of the season that the defense has not been dominant. The defense was simply just good. And good for them is 24 points. Even with an offense, like you look at the Bucks and it looked like they were moving the ball consistently. You look up, it's like, oh, they only had 7 points, in the first half. This is the first game I was actually disappointed in defense, like just their failure to get off the field on certain third downs. Their failure to bring Baker down in the backfield a bunch of times. Like so many drives they could have ended just simply by getting them down when they had them. Letting them outside the pocket, just kind of scamper. Baker doesn't run; he scampers for like 12 yards, and the offense gave you 30. So there's been games where the offense didn't have it, and the defense would just completely shut off the water for a team's offense. It had to be the opposite way, and they were like very comfortable. Like, this is the best game I've seen them like move the ball since the Saints game. I think they punted twice, once in the first half, and they punted, when they didn't go for it on fourth down in regulation, but that's because they knew, hey, we just taking this in overtime. Like, they just consistently moved the ball all the way down. When they got into the red zone, they scored. Kelsey had the turnover. He averages like one fumble lost a year. So, like, hey, week 9, get that shit out the way and let's ball. But one thing that I have been seeing, I talked with Frank about this. Like, when I look at like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, I see a lot of like open receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see, hey, the field is spaced out. They're throwing the guys, and there's just more guys running open than I see with this Chiefs team. Now that the 2 games DeAndre Hopkins has played, when I see Patrick Mahomes drop back, I have much more confidence that he has different places to look to where guys are open, and he's not making as many. He doesn't have to make as many tight window throws to guys who frankly aren't good at catching in tight windows. Justin Watson is okay, but he's not really that good at it. Kelsey is, I would say, 60-40 to catch, versus making a drop in contested situations. Worthy's not a contested guy, especially up top at this point in his career. So having Hop there and Worthy, like having them on the same side sometimes, like spaces the field out, and like, man, like the offensive passing game, I think is going to be so much more efficient and so much more. Like, it's still not going to hit 3 to 4 big plays a game, but they're going to be much more consistent on those 12-yard to 15-yard to 20-yard deep outs, posts, whatever. Like, I just see so much more room for growth with this offense now that Hop is there. And then, like I said, you get Hollywood back and Pacheco. I don't know, man. And Juju should be back next week, or Buffalo at the worst. Hey, man, there's just a lot of optionality with this offense. Where week 4, it looked like it was going to be Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, and a bunch of also reds. So I like what I see out of the offense.
And on top of that, we missed 2 deep shots. Like Watson had a touchdown, and Mahomes just missed him by like 4 inches.
Yeah.
And then the Worthy deep shot. So the deep shots are there. And both of those deep shots were single coverage. Well, I mean, they beat the man downfield. So with the D-Hop effect of him being there, you just can't double anybody, and you have to keep that safety in the box or somewhere intermediate wise, which is going to do wonders for Pat. I'm just excited for the spacing of the routes now. Like there's so much space now that I think out of the 14 catches Kelce had, there was like 7 or 8 of them he was just by himself, and like just alone with like 5 yards to work with to run upfield, and that's the beauty of like DeAndre Hopkins being in that lineup.
Yeah, Kelce had 14 catches. Like you said, Hopkins had 8 catches and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, Mahomes is definitely going to put up more numbers. I know Tristan earlier talked about people just kind of looking at the box scores of Mahomes, but there was a moment in the game where, had he gotten injured, which it seemed like he might have been hurt, looked like he rolled his ankle or something. Then we're talking about it. Then we're talking about a different kind of game. Then you actually see Patrick Mahomes' true value to the team and to the league. Tristan, take me through, what were you feeling on that play? Did you think it was like a broken foot? Do you think he tore something in his, tore an ACL or something, or what was going through your mind?
Well, when the camera cut back to him after the touchdown,
Yeah,
I heard him say that it was non-contact. So
yeah,
start fearing the worst there. I see the replay, and now I'm just after Kevin Durant. I'm trained to look at like the tingle in the back, in the back of somebody's calf.
yeah.
And you really look at football players running in slow motion. You always think that you see a tingle in somebody's calf when they're running. So you just kind of dismiss that. But once they said it was an ankle, he was helped off the field, but then you looked and you saw he was kind of walking on his own. It's like at that point I stopped being as worried. Like you see Mahomes had these little minor or sometimes not so minor ankle injuries, and he comes back. You start thinking back to like all those videos, those training videos of him and his trainer, Bobby Shrew. And like they actually do like these weird angle, like kind of slides and things with his ankles and hamstrings and stuff like that. I think, he's more built to sustain those ankle injuries than a lot of quarterbacks. It doesn't mean that he's, indestructible, but at first, like that first 30 seconds to a minute, I was very worried. But, avoided the worst. And, I just think it's probably something that's going to bother him throughout the rest of the season, but hopefully it kind of remains where it is. But, good news. So.
Yeah. Frank, what's your confidence level in Carson Wentz if Mahomes does go down?
Playoff berth.
Okay.
That's much more so to the lead that he has coming into the situation.
Yeah.
He gets hurt. But that's pretty much it. Like, it's the reason why Pat's 1 of 1. I mean, he is the ultimate denominator, foundational franchise piece. You just can't lose. You can lose anybody else on that team. You cannot lose 15. If you lose 15, when it happened, I was watching intently, and in our group chat, I put in, he's good. He's walking. He didn't go to the back. He's in the blue tent. Came out of the blue tent. He's standing. He's done. He's fine. He's good. So. Yeah, but the replay, it looked like that. it looked like that knee jam. It looked like something ruptured from that. It looked at slow motion. It looked like it kind of like his calf twerked. It looked like for a second. I was kind of worried for a second, but no, I think the way he just jammed, the way he stuck, because he was trying to figure out whether to run for the first and he was kind of in between. But man, that's why he does those off-season trainings with his trainer. Man, all those flexibility drills, all that came into play.
Yeah, and I should note on the play, it was a play where he kind of only maybe Mahomes or Josh Allen could make, where he just kind of flipped it to Perrine for like a 5-6 yard touchdown pass. Great play. Glad it didn't get hurt. That would have been a bummer for the for the season for the league, honestly. Um, any other Chiefs thoughts y'all want to get off before we move on?
Nah, I'm good.
Good.
For me, I talked about, I still have Mahomes in like top 3 MVP just because of the value.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I mean, I think Chris Jones should be, in everybody's, top 2 to 3 defensive player of the year ballots. Like I haven't seen somebody, Aaron Donald, but like who just wrecks whole defensive plan. Like, and like he gets better throughout the game. It's like he's trying stuff out in the first quarter, second quarter. Like he just wears like teams down. They move him around a lot more at the end, and he's just winning. Every time I look at Chris Jones, he's either getting double teamed or he's winning. He's in the backfield. Like he's completely wrecking whole offensive game plan. So I got Chris Jones, man. This should be the year, in my opinion, he wins his first DPOY.
Good call. Frank, I asked Tristan this before. I want to get your thoughts. Who is your MVP right now, and who's your offensive player of the year? Usually, MVP goes to a quarterback, but so let's say a quarterback wins that award. But who do you think is going to be the offensive player of the year? Or who is right now?
Offensive player of the year?
Yeah.
It's tough because I'm trying to think of non-quarterback positions. As of 2 weeks ago, I was going to say Derrick Henry because the way he's just been running the ball, like he's been running with such reckless abandonment. I mean, with him and Lamar, it's probably Derrick Henry for me as far as offensive player of the year, and then the leader for MVP, I'll have to say Jared Goff. Just the sheer efficiency that Jared Goff is throwing football right now. Like I think at one point he had more touchdowns in the last 5 weeks than incompletions. It's ridiculous what he's doing right now with that offense, and as of right now they're 7-1. He has a little bit of a cleaner stat line, well, way cleaner stat line than any other quarterback right now in football. So just off of that, and they're winning. I have to say Jared Goff.
Yeah, good. The best teams are represented in our awards here. Any other NFL thoughts before we get to the college stuff?
Yeah, I know we talked about Chicago last week. I want to just reference some more, just more Chicago nonsense that came out yesterday. The Chicago press came out and interviewed DJ Moore.
Yeah.
And they asked DJ Moore, do you feel like Eagles is losing the team? And DJ Moore's response was, I would say no. But the way he said it was like, nah, he's losing the team, but I'm not gonna just give you all the truth out of the media. But this is just another constant reminder that you got to have the right coach, not for your quarterback or not for the young players, but just as a sheer sign of respect that permeates through the locker room. And you got guys missing practice. You got guys showing off in the secondary, but on the road. You got guys who just they have like this like will to speak their mind and they act like they don't have anybody to answer to, and that's when you know that you probably lost your team. And I think the Washington game was just the beginning. I think it's been going on for a while. I don't think he's a good X's and O's guy. I think the longer you have him on there, the season's still salvageable, I think. But I think for it to be salvageable, you got to get rid of Eagle-Flus. I think a new voice needs to be heard in that locker room. There's too much reckless abandonment going on with those players. And that DJ Moore comment, man, he feels that he feels that way. That I know most of the team feels that way as well.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like Matt Eberflus is going to make it past the season, if he makes it through the season at all. That probably, we'll see what happens. The Bears are 4-4, still got half the season to go, but not looking great in Chicago.
They look lifeless against Arizona. Like they look like they didn't want to be there. They were 4-3 going into that game, and they had every chance to like make ground in the wild card game. They played like they were 2-7.
Yeah.
They look lifeless in that game, and I think that to me that's just you need a new voice in that locker room.
I do want to point out in that game there was a weird occurrence, like in the first half. The game was in Arizona, and they had the roof open, and there was a thunderstorm that rolled through with like hail, and it was it was on the field because they had the roof open. They had to close it, which I think is just crazy. That first of all, you get a thunderstorm like that in Arizona, but then have it happen in a dome stadium. That's pretty crazy. I've never seen that happen. Here in Houston, they almost never have the roof open. It's like open like once a year. The Astros, same deal with Minute Maid. They have the roof open like maybe once or twice a season. But the one time they had it open in Arizona, I've never seen the roof open at that stadium either. And you get a hailstorm, which didn't help things. But I don't know, it's just a funny occurrence. Anything else before we get to the college stuff?
I'm good.
Let's talk college football. Not only today was the NFL trade deadline was today, but also the first college football playoff rankings came out this evening. Oregon's number 1, Ohio State number 2, Georgia number 3, Miami number 4, Texas number 5, Penn State number 6, Tennessee number 7, Indiana number 8, BYU number 9, Notre Dame at 10, Alabama at 11, Boise State at 12. Tristan, any big surprises from that list of 12?
I don't even know what we considered a surprise in these things. I'm notoriously anti-college football playoff. I don't have any surprises. I will say this from what I've seen. Full disclosure, I've been looking for I grew up rooting for the University of Texas, like over the as long as I've been watching college football. At least they've been one of the teams that like I've kind of locked in on. Due to University of Texas just being considerably lame, and with a lot of things, like I haven't been able to like throw my full support around them like I did 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. I like this Miami thing, man. Miami's a team that I it's appointment television for me every Saturday. Cam Ward, I think, has been pretty consistently the best quarterback. I think it's neck and neck with him and Shedeur Sanders. So I love watching him play. I think he's gotten better every single year, every single week. I mean, just taking command of the offense, clutch, all those things. So I'm really enjoying this Miami thing. I may be becoming a Miami fan again, like it's 2001 all over again. That's my takeaway about the college football rankings.
Gotcha.
Just in generally, I don't care about the rankings until like the last part of the season. Like it's not something it's not like a week to week thing. It's like stock market. Like at the end of the season, like it'll be what it is, and then we go from there. So I don't really have any takeaways from that.
Yeah, I just thought it's significant because it's the first time we have 12 teams and there's a bracket. And I should mention in the bracket that Oregon, Miami, Georgia, and BYU would get the first round buys. So even though BYU is ranked number 9, because they're projected to be the Big 12 champion, they would get a bye. So that's interesting to see how that plays out. And the matchups would be Boise State versus Ohio State, Indiana versus Tennessee, Alabama versus Texas, and Notre Dame versus Penn State. So it's pretty interesting games. Obviously, there's a lot more football to be played, 4 more weeks at least to kind of solve this. But Frank, what's your takeaways on the first CFP rankings?
I think Miami should be 2. I mean, they haven't lost. I think college football, man, we lose the common sensibility of like just being undefeated and playing perfect football. Like they've had close games. Yeah, they had a close call against Cal. They had a couple close calls, but they won. You know what I'm saying? So like I don't. And they're in a big conference, a Power Five conference, and their quarterback's playing the best football. Like you say, outside Shador, he's one of the two best quarterbacks. I don't have Georgia over them because I think Georgia has looked spotty in a lot of these games. They have one loss, but the quarterback play has been very spotty. They've been very inconsistent offensively, especially on the road. To me, that's a ding to their record. And Miami's undefeated. I don't know why Penn State and Tennessee are over Indiana. Indiana's 9-0 in the Big Ten, and they've dominated every single week. They played their schedule. Tennessee, since conference play, has looked very ordinary. They had a big win against Bama, but they looked very ordinary against OU. They struggled with South Carolina. They lost South Carolina, I believe. I just don't know why they're ahead of. I don't know why Penn State and Tennessee are ahead of Indiana. And Bama, I get Bama's in the SEC, but you have 2 losses. You should not be in the top 12. You should not be in the top 12. And those 2 losses, you got dominated defensively in both those losses. And if you want to do style points, they should have lost Georgia. They gave up a 24-point lead in the fourth quarter. Very spotty play by them. So outside of the top 4, I have no issues with the top 4, but I think Indiana and BYU should be higher. That's pretty much my ref.
So this is the first time we've had 12 playoff teams. The first team out currently is SMU. The next team, the 14th ranked team, is Texas A&M, who was the top team in the SEC until this past weekend. They got crushed by South Carolina. Any thoughts on that game? Anybody want to jump in on that one?
I think that's about right. I mean, they weren't competitive. They got destroyed. So I think they should be lower than the poll. I think it should be 17th or 18th. Like, you can't lose like that at this juncture of the year. This in November, you are who you are. I think you're pretty much solidified as a team of who you are. And when you get blown out in that fashion on the road, you shouldn't. And that's 2 losses, right, for A&M?
Yeah, they lost Notre Dame in the opener.
Yeah. So I think they should. Yeah, and then they've had questionable quarterback play. That I think they benched Connor Wickman for the backup.
Marcel Reed.
Yeah. There's a lot of uncertainty with the quarterback situation moving forward with them. I think SMU should be 12. Then the ACC, they're gonna have a collision course with either Miami or Clemson in the ACC title game. That should be celebrated. You know, I think we devalue when teams who are undefeated. I don't think that's fair to those teams that are undefeated, especially if you're gonna go to the top 12. If you're gonna go to the top 12, honor the undefeateds until otherwise.
Yeah,
totally agree. I was almost this close to calling A&M like really good. It's like against my nature, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was surprised that they got that ass like handed to them like that. I thought A&M would win outright. You know, South Carolina just hasn't been that good. South Carolina is also struggling with like quarterback play. But you know, I don't know much about the quarterback they had out there on Saturday, but he looked like, you know, he has the goods, like with just more seasoning, you know, more reps. But they just went in there and just kicked A&M in the teeth. So that'll be the last time I like try to draw a positive conclusions about A&M until like I have more evidence.
Yeah. Well, Texas and A&M face off for the first time, 12 years at the end of the month. So that'll be a big game regardless of the rankings. But if both teams are in the CFP chase, that'll be add a little extra to that game. So looking forward to that one. Anything else from college you want to talk about? Ohio State beat Penn State once again. Penn State just cannot beat Ohio State. I don't know if y'all watched that game, but it wasn't a ton of fun.
I think if there's any team that benefits from the top of the expansion to 12 teams, it's Penn State. Because we know Penn State's not going to be able to beat Michigan or beat Ohio State when it matters. But them having that the top 12 being there now, they have a benefit of being in the playoffs now. I wish one day Franklin can win a big game. whether it's at home or on the road against Ohio State. But it won't be this year, and it probably won't be next year. We're still gonna hold our breaths on that.
Continuous bridesmaid, man. Like, it has so many opportunities there to like take control of that game, and they just couldn't do it. And then they got super conservative. Like, nah, this is the time. You're at home. Ohio State is not great. Like, this is the time to like really go for it. And they just stunted. You know, when they go against Ohio State and Michigan, if they lose to Michigan this year, then this just James Franklin thing is just not meant to be. Like, you'll never beat them if you can't beat Michigan this year. And I would have said the same about Ohio State. Like, I thought Penn State should have been favorites just because I think they're just a better team than Ohio State. But if you have that mental block about doing the necessary things on the field and, you know, on the sidelines, like, I think the coaching staff lost that game just as much as the players, then, yeah, you'll never beat these guys. But forever bridesmaids, man. Like, again, when's the last big Penn State win that you remember? It's like,
and they have no excuses. They recruit well. Like when you look at the landscape of the NFL, there are a lot of Penn State guys who are prominent players in the NFL. You know, and it just comes down to X's and O's and nuts on the table and taking a chance and being aggressive. Like Tristan said, you can't be conservative in a game like that, especially at home. Like, you have the crowd behind you. You know, you have the whiteout behind you in Happy Valley. Like, this is the time to pull out that trick play, to go for on 4th and 4 in your own 45. Like, this is the time to be aggressive and showcase that confidence in your players. And he just never does that. Mm-hmm. But, you know, Kirby Smart with the same thing, the same type of conservative issue his first couple years at Georgia. And we question whether or not he can ever grab the bull by the horns. So, I mean, we'll see. It's going to be up to James Franklin to adopt a more aggressive mentality against, you know, the likes of Ohio State.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. They definitely benefit from having an expanded playoff field. Penn State does. And speaking of Penn State, I've already asked Tristan about this, but Frank, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, what was your reaction to Saquon Barkley's backward hurdle in traffic against the Jaguars on Sunday?
I was sitting on my recliner and Tristan was like, "Hey man, Saquon did a reverse hurdle," and I was trying to, before I even started play, I was trying to visualize what he meant. I was like, "What do you mean a reverse hurdle?" Like, I couldn't comprehend what he said. And when I saw the highlight, I was just kind of like, "This is bullshit." Like, how you just go on the field and just do that, like, on instinct, and he cleared the dude backwards. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, that could have been that could have ended badly. He could have got somersaulted. He could not clear the guy.
Yeah.
Like, to do the spin move, another spin move, and then the hurdle was just like, that's when you know you have too much talent. Because when you have too much talent, you start doing bullshit like that, and then it passes for greatness in the field.
Yeah. Well, it was a great highlight, though. Probably along with that Hail Mary from last week, probably, the two biggest highlights of the season thus far.
Yeah, but if I'm the Eagles, man, like, that play is like synonymous of, like, they need to rely on Saquon a lot more. The way that Saquon needs to be used the same way the Niners use McCaffrey. He should be the nucleus, the engine, the wing beneath your wings of that offense. It shouldn't, like, that should be a 65-45 run pass Saquon. And, hopefully Kellen Moore, gets it in his head to stick to that game plan, because he's the best back. Like, him and Derrick Henry right now are the two best backs in football.
Yeah. Interesting, but they're both free agents too.
I don't even get that. Like, if I'm the Eagles, he's not leaving the compound past Tuesday without extension. I don't even understand that. Like the Eagles would be lost without him. Like, the Eagles are in second place right now behind Washington. Just imagine what it would be, how further back they would be if Saquon was not there. And then you have no AJ Brown for, he got hurt again. So he's even more important to what you're trying to do to get to a Super Bowl run.
Yeah. I mean, with Barkley and Henry, it's a position that's been devalued over the years, but those are two of the more valuable players in the whole league. So really great stuff from those two running backs. Tristan, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No.
We didn't touch on the Titans-Patriots game. Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely not. No.
The Drake May Hail Mary from like the 8-yard line. He ran around with the ball for 12 seconds or something. Pretty crazy play. I mean, not a great game, but was a cool highlight.
Drake May, he's gonna be good.
Yeah.
How good we'll see, but he's gonna be good. That's what I got from that game. The little I watched of it.
Yeah.
We watched enough of it. He's gonna be good.
He had 95 yards on the ground also. So I didn't see that in his game, but he can move a little bit. So he's gonna have to with that team. They don't have a lot of talent around him. So good stuff. Frank, anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, I want to just talk about one more thing. Tristan brought this up beginning of the year, and I just wouldn't have the conversation because I just don't want to talk about it. And that was the conversation of 17-0 with Kansas City.
Yeah.
I'm just really big about the war of attrition, all that kind of stuff. But if the Chiefs get past Buffalo, if they're 10-0 after Buffalo going to Carolina, you have Carolina win, Raiders win, Chargers, divisional game, but definitely winnable. The Browns, they may cave by Thanksgiving. Texans and Steelers.
Yeah.
The probability of going 17-0 was very, very possible if they get past Buffalo in 2 weeks. That conversation might be had. It might need to be had at 6:30 p.m. on in 2 weeks from now.
My one thing would be that Christmas game because I forgot who we played before, the Texans.
Yep.
Yeah, the Texans on Saturday.
The 21st December, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get the Pittsburgh, who might be battling for the division
on Wednesday.
4 days later. Like that, if they're still undefeated, I can see that as a game where Andy rests Pat, rest some of your main guys. I also think they could still win that game. I'm sorry. But that would be the thing that trips me up. Trips them up. If I had to bet, if it's not Buffalo, I think they'll beat Denver this week. One of these Denver games is going to be weird as hell.
Yeah, it always is. Yeah,
every single year it's going to be weird as hell. Either they blow Denver out or they win by 3 points or they lose.
Right.
But if they get past the Buffalo game, I'm worried about Pittsburgh, and those are my two concerning games. But ultimately, man, you want to get guys back, be healthy, be the number one seed.
Yeah,
and that's kind of all. I want an undefeated season because I just want to witness it. I wanted the Patriots to go undefeated so badly. You know what I'm saying? Because this is something that you want to witness. That's something that never comes around. So especially in our lifetime. So
if you go undefeated and 3-peat in the same fucking year,
hey man, that's about as goated as you can get. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to witness that badly, but the 3-peat I will be almost as equally happy, and giddy for. So
yeah.
Well, with Denver, you got to watch out for Bo Nix, the receiver, because he caught a touchdown pass on Sunday against the Ravens. They ran the Philly special with the Broncos.
Yeah.
I want to point out you kind of mentioned this briefly, but in that there's a 10-day stretch for the Chiefs where they play 3 games. They have the Browns on December 15th, the Texans on the 21st, and the Steelers on the 25th. So if you're looking for maybe a loss, it might come in that stretch.
I hope, and I think Andy's going to do this. I think you're going to see a lot of depth pieces playing those 3 games. A lot of, I know we go by 8 guys deep in our D-line rotation. You may see 5, 6 receivers dressed up for that game. You may see 3 running backs dressed for that game. You may see a lot of depth being played in those games just to keep guys fresh. Because that's a tricky stretch of games right there. It's inhumane, I think. I don't like it. I don't know why you would schedule a Sunday to Saturday to Wednesday game going to the playoffs like that. Like that's why that 1 seed is so important. Like I don't the 17-0 was just shits and giggles. For me, I just want the 1 seed. I feel like that bye week is gonna be so important to get guys healthy. And if we can get Pat and Kelsey, those guys, and Pacheco and especially Kareem Hunt, dude, I am concerned about Kareem Hunt's usage. Like he's 27 carries, 25 carries, 30 carries. Like he's averaging 26 carries a game. And I don't want to rush Pacheco back, but you're gonna either need Pacheco back soon or rely on the whiteboard a little bit more because he is getting ran to the ground. And I want him healthy because he's such a bell cow. And the envision I have of like Thunder and Lightning with Pacheco and Kareem, that needs to be together. But for that to happen, Kareem has to make it to December. And the way they're running him right now is that's a slight concern for me right now. With and I get it, you trust him more, but 4 carries for P Ryan and 3 carries for Alligator Boy. That's 7 carries that doesn't have to go to Kareem Hunt. That can save his body just over the span of the next 3-4 weeks.
Didn't they activate Clyde Helaire?
He's still not activated yet. He's still don't know what's going on. Something's going on with Clyde Edwards that they're not really speaking about it. But if you don't activate him, find somebody on waivers, bring somebody in. But those carries are piling up, and if you're gonna need Kareem moving forward in December and January, especially when the weather changes.
Yeah. Who would have thought they'd be relying on Kareem Hunt this year? It's crazy. You never know with the NFL. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it.
I'm good.
We touched on everything. Okay. So now you know what we thought about week 9. We want to know what you think about it. The best way to do that is join us for one of our live streams, just like King B. Johnson did. We appreciate him joining us. And, we're on YouTube right now. So do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, leave some comments. We appreciate all that. You can also check us out on audio platforms. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And please follow us on social media. We're at Watchers Basement. Don't forget to use the hashtag Watchers Basement. That helps us out as well. So for Tristan and for Frank, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night.